We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Hi, it's just good to see everybody again. As usual, it feels like it's been a long time, and I'm just really excited to be here with you all. We're coming in towards fall. It feels like fall here right now because it's kind of cool out. We went from 90s to like, I don't know, 70s. Seems like the weather doesn't know what it wants to do. But I feel like fall is a time where we're all just moving into, there's an energy or something that just comes up. I don't know if it's because of having been in school at this time at some point in our lives, but the energy kind of just shifts and gets a little bit more urgent and busy. But lots been going on, but it's all been good. So we'll all come together and meet each other in the room and greet each other. Beautiful. Um, Now we'll give this statement of our purpose and values. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. For statement of purpose, I've chosen, core value number 3. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. And now we'll get started with announcements. This concludes our announcements. So we move on to our song, and I chose a song called Blackbird. Believe it or not, I had never heard this song from the Beatles. And my husband was like, "What?" He was telling me that I guess Beyonce had a new country album and she did a version of this song, or not a version. She sang the song, and he was like, "Oh, it's beautiful," and I was like, "Blackbird, I never heard that song before," and so that's when he turned me on to it, and I heard Paul McCartney sing this song, so absolutely beautiful, and so here is Beyonce's rendition of Blackbird. Beautiful. And now we're moving into our prayer. Just taking this moment again to breathe in and breathe out. Breathing in this moment, just taking it in. This moment contains within it infinite potentiality. This moment, this moment, which is many times covered up by the seeming reality. May we know that this moment is eternal and unfazed and untouchable. May we rest as this moment, allowing it to reflect back to us the only reality. And may we open our hearts and minds to receive and shine forth this truth. And in gratitude, we say, so it is. And so the reading that I chose was inspired by actually Cindy's homily. Cindy turned me on to, turned me back to Joel Goldsmith, who I love because of his directness and the way that he is able to share and and bring forth a lot of scriptural texts, you know, as a mystic, to bring forth the truth in a way that I really never heard it. And so it was timely, when I heard her homily. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how much that his readings really, really touched me at the time that I was reading them. So it's from the Infinite Way. I'm starting in the middle of the chapter, Wisdoms from the Infinite Way, pages 168 to 177. And it's not like a continuous reading. He's just giving pearls of wisdom, um, basically regarding prayer and illusion. And Yolanda was so kind to volunteer to be my reader. Thank you, Yolanda.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking. Well, this is my baby. His name is Sater. He seems to want to be with us this morning. So I love this reading, Beverly. Thank you so much, because it came at a perfect time for me. And I love Joel Goldsmith also. So here we go. Since God alone is and is omnipresence, prayer, true prayer is a state of consciousness, a conscious communion in union. I have been in deep grief so intense that it has torn me to pieces inside, and wondered, why, oh Lord, why? In the depth of it, the answer has come. The world's inability to receive and respond to this Christ, the rejection of it, capital I, by those we expect to possess the gift of vision, the gross ignorance and darkness of the human thought. These bounce back upon me, these rejections and this opacity. Give me grace to rise above my sorrow. The light shines. The word reveals that when the stumbling block is no longer needed, it is removed. You need not move it, change it, or remove it. It is removed when it is no longer needed. Thank you, Father, for love. Truth, as it is usually known or declared, is not truth except in God. When one has attained the realization of life in God, it is true that one is spiritual, divine, and God-governed. Spiritual truth is not true about humanhood, but about spirit and its universe. Humanhood is a state of mesmerism, and only as the illusion breaks is one's life in God. Only in God does one attain the realization of perfection, wholeness, completeness, or oneness. Attainment comes only as one is loosed from all concepts of truth, and this comes only by grace. Divested of all concepts of life, truth, and love, one stands in God. Life beyond the grave has no relationship to immortality. Life beyond the grave is but the survival of personality. This personality dies. It must die, either this side or that side of the grave, in order that immortality may be realized. The immortal self is ever present, even when clothed with personality, but is revealed and lived only in proportion as personality or the human selfhood disappears. As long as there remains concern for personal good, security, health, or peace of mind, there is that which must die daily in order that one may be reborn of the spirit into the realization of immortality here and now. Prayer is not an activity of the human mind. All attempts to contact God through the mind or intellect have failed and always will fail. God can be known only through the soul and the soul faculties. The prayer uttered through the intellect can return fruitage only in proportion to one's belief in that prayer. Faith in an unknown God brings only the harmony of blind belief. God must be known and understood through the soul. To an advanced student, you have reached the place where you know every truth that can be known, understood, or received humanly. Now you must reach higher for the truth that reveals itself through spiritual means without human means of communication. Why do advanced souls, even practitioners and teachers, still experience ills and other problems? Whatever degree of mortal or material consciousness that still remains in them is expressing itself. There is no unexpressed consciousness, and even a tiny bit of human consciousness remaining will express itself in terms of human good or evil. This is the law. These two remain side by side until, in proportion as spiritual consciousness unfolds, more and more of material sense is uprooted. Even the resurrection brought forth a material sense of body with all the marks of human error. In the ascension, pure spirituality is revealed. On the spiritual way, many come to barren places, the desert, the wilderness, and believe that God has forsaken them. Often it appears as if Christ had forsaken them. Then it is that the spiritual seeker must remember that he has not yet attained that what he believed to be the full realization of truth, the Christ or God, was not the fullness of the Spirit. These wilderness experiences reveal that he must still press on. For when the light is fully come, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Remember that discords and inharmonies are apparent only to human sense. Spiritual vision sees through to reality. Faith does not concern the past or the future. Faith is an activity taking place in the present, now, only now. Faith is an activity of consciousness, just as much so as integrity. Faith is always present in you, even though, like integrity, it may be dormant. The recognition and acknowledgement of the omnipresence of faith as an activity of individual consciousness starts the flow of it into visible and tangible effect. Faith is a quality of God, not of man. But as a quality of God, it is present in all its fullness. Do not expect the power of God to function in the dream, but rather to break the dream. Do not contact God to adjust, change, or heal the dream. The understanding or awareness of God breaks the dream. To know that one has been functioning in the dream is the beginning of the awakening. True non-resistance is the ability not to expect God to function in the dream. This does not mean that one lives without God, but rather one finds his life to be eternally in God. To refrain from seeking the help of God is to be functioning in reality. No longer reaching out to God, no longer seeking God's help, is to be awakening out of the dream into reality. Whenever there's a sense of needing God, one is functioning in the dream. God is not power in the sense of power over evil, sin, disease, or death. God is not power in any sense involving battle, that is, overcoming or destroying. God is life. God is love. God is. Nothing else is. Only God is. Do not be concerned about your relationships with people. Consciously maintain your relationship with God, and this will take care of everything else. Keep your realization of your relationship with God sacred and secret. This relationship, maintained in silence and secrecy, appears outwardly as harmonious human relationships and experiences. God is the cement between you and your brothers and sisters of the human, animal, vegetable, and mineral families. When thought dwells on person, place, or thing, you are functioning in the dream. When your thoughts unite in spiritual contemplation, every person, place, or thing becomes a spiritual delight. The two great commandments are cosmic law. Thou shalt have no other God or power. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Cast your bread upon the waters. For by strength shall no man prevail. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries. These things we perceive with the five senses are objects of the mind with no relationship to truth. All appearances are sense objects, not of God or truth. All that is objectively witnessed must be understood to be mental images or mind projections, never spiritual reality. The reality underlies the sense formation, but is discerned only by spiritual consciousness. The sense world, human experience, takes place in time and space, and this in itself precludes its being spiritual in nature. The universe of spirit, truth, God is an activity in eternity. Thus understood, neither birth, disease, accident, nor death has ever occurred. In every instance, when presented with the appearance of humanhood, even good human beings or conditions, remember that this is not truth, but a mental image in thought without reality, law, substance, cause, or effect. Then see deeper into consciousness and behold that which is eternity, even in what appears as past, present, or future. If it takes place in time and space, do not accept it at its appearance value, but search deeper in the realm of the soul. Blessed be. Thank you, Beverly.
Wow, that was so beautiful, Yolanda. I'm listening to you read it and I'm like, did I read this before? Thank you. Very beautiful. So I think my attraction to Joel Goldsmith is that, I was raised like probably a lot of, maybe many of you, Christian, and a lot of, I had a passion for, I guess, spirituality or the spiritual journey very young. So I was interested in reading the Bible and just had this natural inclination for, this seeking, and I never could get on board with what the heck was being said, because it was so concrete and so, smokes and mirrors and like, what are they talking about, And so I think, you know, Goldsmith, being a mystic, just kind of like blew me away with uncovering the meaning of a lot of these texts, and I was really touched by it. I was raised Methodist, and many of the scriptures and even the sermons about the scriptures just were so literal and so flat and concrete. I just wanted to know, but of course didn't have any a spiritual teacher or someone to help me at that time. So I just want to examine some of these excerpts from this chapter, which is this chapter, The Wisdom of the Infinite Way. So when illusion is present, there's this sense of two-ness. For me now, there is that one that's still present, unmoving, the unaffected self. And at the same time, there seems to be this one who is still feverishly coming up with plans and remedies and solutions and trying to fix it. And so this illusion would seem to split myself or split mind into two. And this is really where the disturbance begins. And then it occurred to me that the disturbance always comes from within. There's this unrest that's launched by what seems to be happening outside that creates this distortion in the mind. And then the conflict that would seem to be coming from out there is really just a reflection of the conflict resolution that needs to happen within. And we know that truth cannot be other than what it is, and that one can't be split into two. But there's just somehow this acceptance, of this very falsehood. And there's the belief that there's a need to return to somewhere that I've seemingly left. So once there is an awareness that there's nothing to do out there, then the belief comes into play, there's something to fix in here, which is just an extension of duality. So realization is not a doing at all. The desire to feel better or to come back to oneness then creates a second illusion of separateness that could never be. So now there's that out there, and then there's this in here, and then the battle goes on between what he would call flesh and spirit. And we are only battling with ourselves because there's only one. So I need that thing over there to go away. And I need to get back to oneness. And both things are untrue, because both are just illusion. And so the question is often asked, when is this experience or karmic pattern going to change? As if checking spiritual boxes like meditation, contemplation, and inquiry should have earned me the right to peace by now. One could say that peace is not something to be attained, but it is actually what we are. Or as Goldsmith would put it, the word reveals that when the stumbling block is no longer needed, it is removed. You need not move it, change it, or remove it. It is removed when it is no longer needed. It would seem that we have an inbuilt personalized awakening curriculum, but the answers are also inbuilt. As I submerge myself in the consciousness of truth and am repeatedly seduced from this peace, I realize that this just means that consciousness is looking at the appearance instead of itself. It didn't go anywhere and nothing changed. Yet when attention goes to the appearance, there is the sense of going backwards. There's a sense of failure or the belief in time travel. I may have seemed to abandon my post, but this I is non-existent and the post does not change. Hence the verse, I will never leave you or forsake you. Consciousness can never be other than what it is. It cannot go anywhere when it is all that exists. He says humanhood is a state of mesmerism, and only as the illusion breaks is one's life in God. I found this statement very interesting. I studied to be a science of mind practitioner and became a practitioner. And in a lot of his books, he is addressing the practitioner student, and he emphasizes that we are not dealing with appearances. We are not even acknowledging person, place, or thing, but only acknowledging the truth. We are only to address our own consciousness. Before becoming a science of mind practitioner, I was obsessed with Phineas Quimby, who was basically the father of New Thought. New Thought holds that infinite intelligence or God is everywhere, that spirit is the totality of real things. True human selfhood is divine. Divine thought is a force for good. Sickness originates in the mind, and right thinking has a healing effect. Phineas Quimby was a healer and mesmerist in the 1800s. He was sick in his early life with consumption, which what we now call TB, and was given calomel by doctors of the day and became, of course, very ill. the doctors of that day were, I don't know what they were doing, but they were very, could be very dangerous. He galloped on his horse for periods of time, which made him intensely excited. And I imagine that he was raising his vibration. And he cured himself with this, just with this activity, and became interested in the mind's effect on the body. He was an empath. This was his gift. And he would sit with clients, and he had the ability through empathy to embody their symptoms precisely to the last detail. He would feel every detail of what they were feeling. He would say too, for example, I have this metal taste in my mouth and I have pain in whatever region of the body that was being experienced by the client. And he would literally experience everything his client was feeling and describe it, thus gaining their confidence. And he would say, I have every symptom that you have, and yet I do not have the disease you claim to have. And sometimes he would literally talk them out of their illness in that moment. And other times he would just ask them questions, go into private, and resolve the condition with his own consciousness, and they would be healed. There were many accounts of healing, long distance or in person, and he did thousands of case studies and experiments where his patients were healed. But I found it interesting that he was a mesmerist. If we are living in a mesmeric reality, then he was healing through a medium that his clients were in. Magic happening within the magic show. Or better yet, truth dispelling magic and breaking the dream. As Goldsmith shares, when we become divested of all concepts of life, truth, and love, one stands in God. He says, as long as there remains concern for personal good, security, health, peace of mind, there is that which must die daily in order that one may be reborn of spirit into the realization of immortality here and now. There's a sigh of relief and the fear of letting go that comes forth as I read this statement. Strangely, the higher the stakes, the greater the relief. In other words, the more my life is a circus, the easier it is to let go. When illusion becomes absolutely overwhelming, it seems easier to let go, and the choice becomes obvious, and dying to my false reality is a welcomed relief. And in each death is awakening more and more revealed. What is this truth he talks about that reveals itself through spiritual means without human communication? I find that even when reading, for example, words that point to spiritual truth, or listening to a satsang, or having an epiphany, all phenomenal in nature. The alchemy that occurs when uncommunicable transmission has been received is unmistakable. And though I would love to contribute it to words or writing or events, I cannot. I cannot go back and forensically find the cause of this sudden understanding. I can read an underlined or highlighted statement 1,000 times and never recreate the hit or the aha that took place. The separate self wants to possess what cannot be defined, described, or captured, yet the transmission is complete. There is no material consciousness that goes unexpressed. And though more and more it may be gradually extinguished, that material consciousness which is left has activity. And I see this to be the case. If I'm honest, I can see that which still thrives and gets excited by appearance, whether the appearance comes in the form of thought, an emotion, or physical appearance. Even with all the spiritual knowledge that has been transmitted as being, there is the distant voice that says, well, what are you going to do about this? There are the faint screams of panic and non-acceptance. And though they don't quite have center stage like they did before, they have just enough influence to come into expression through thought, emotion, and appearance. The appearance rears its head, and the phantom habit reaction shows up as if a reflex. And it's not up to me how long this will happen. and it cannot be seen as a failure, as it is no more controllable than a knee-jerk reflex. It does what it does until it doesn't. And how long it is here is not only not up to me, but the insistence that it must go can prolong the experience. It too is an appearance, this thing that I cannot stop doing, and should not be seen any differently. He says, faith is an activity of consciousness. It is present in us, though it may be dormant. The reaction and acknowledgement of the omnipresence of faith as an activity of individual consciousness starts the flow of it into visible and tangible effect. So, the point of recognition and acknowledgement of faith as an activity of my consciousness starts the flow of it into visible and tangible effect. I knew this was going to happen sooner or later. My computer seems to have gone out. Called Nova. And this show basically is about, they have a lot of physicists, a lot of kind of like new frontier type things going on with looking at things like infinity, or looking at things like, black holes and things like that. And if you watch some of these shows, what you'll see is that it almost feels like it's a spiritual lecture rather than a scientific show that's going on. So they did this experiment, coming back online, where they looked at this apple in a box. And the name of the show was called What is Infinity? Give me 1 second. So basically, they're looking at this apple, and they said, what would happen to this apple if nothing can come in and out of this container? So it was a container, nothing could come in or out, so it was a sealed system. And if we were to look at this apple for infinity and look at it, what would happen to it? And so they showed the apple, and of course the apple was beginning to decay. And they moved forward and said, if you looked at it over 100 of years, and you could see the apple becoming just dust. And then, things would start to heat up, nuclei, protons, everything is starting to charge. And then there's sort of almost like a nuclear fusion that takes place. And so you're looking in this box, there's just these beautiful fireworks that are just going off. And, you're looking billions and billions of years forward, because this is infinity. And what happened with the apple is it began to almost shapeshift into different things. It became a sandwich, it became a teddy bear, it became this. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It became a helmet. It was just going on and shape-shifting at lightning speed into these different objects. And then it would have to become every state that it was over again. And then eventually it came back to this perfect apple. And the physicists were asking, why do we care? Why do we even care about this? And then the answer was because we might be inside the box. And so any indiscriminate point in the universe, is a point of infinite potential. So there can be an infinite number of Beverlys and an infinite number of possibilities of the way that could show up, and as a quality of God, faith is present. Though it is dormant, it is present in all its fullness in each and every one of us. We are asked not to expect the power of God to function in the dream, but rather to break the dream, he says. We are asked not to contact God to adjust, change, or heal the dream. The understanding or awareness of God breaks the dream. To know that one has been functioning in the dream is the beginning of awakening. To understand and to stand our ground is this isness in the middle of what would seem to be a nightmare can be experienced as incremental transmission of truth, as each experience with illusion sends us deeper into ourselves. So when is the experience, or when will this appearance start to disappear? This appearance that keeps sending us deeper and deeper into ourselves. And he says it will disappear when it is no longer needed. Each time the illusion would reappear, I would be forced deeper within myself. And each time I would emerge, the appearance may or may not change, but I do not respond the same way. The conviction of what I am is greater than it was before. Whenever there's a sense of needing God, one is functioning in the dream. To need God is to be unaware of one's infinite nature or infinite consciousness, or to be unaware of one's godlike nature. God is not power over, which suggests two. God is, and there is nothing else. So we seek to know our true nature. When thought dwells on person, place, or thing, you are functioning in the dream. And to know that you've been functioning in the dream is the beginning of awakening. To realize that you've been functioning in the dream is the beginning of awakening. So whenever I feel myself in desperate prayer mode, it's a signpost to remember what I am. And it reminds me that I have been forgetting my fundamental nature. And I've become grateful for these moments, no matter how difficult they've been. So strategic is the beauty of my struggle that I cannot look beyond appearance into the vastness of what I am. Mind's answers are becoming less and less satisfying. Thou shalt have no other God or power. Anything that I'm fearing, worrying about, is the God of my power, of my current experience. So absolute is this statement that it's hard to really object to it. It leaves no room for mind, and then mind must become quiet. There's another portion of the book where he looks at a Bible verse that I now love because I understand it, since he has kind of deciphered it for me. And it says, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Because there is no other. When we understand that there is no other, we understand that the command is simply love thyself. Only a separate self would make this statement a chore or a statement of doing something different or becoming a better person. Cast your bread upon the waters. That which we believe feeds us is a fallacy. Cast your bread, your knowledge, illusions, thoughts, worries upon the waters. Cast all that you value upon the waters. And what is the water? The source of all life. We can allow ourselves to be nourished by the source of all life. All that is objectively witnessed must be understood to be mental images or mind projections, never spiritual reality. Here's where the perfection of the individualized spiritual curriculum comes into view. The reality projected must be held against truth. How does what we've accepted, for example, whatever has shown up, how does it hold up against truth? How does what has shown up in your life hold up against truth? And are we complicit with what has shown up? We don't need it to go because it has no substance to begin with. But the absolute nature of God or truth leaves no room for appearance or sense object, be it thoughts, events, or beings. And I find it interesting that the very thing that needs to go is the stumbling block that is facilitating my healing. Would I even be seeking truth if it was not for this disturbance? And I love how Goldsmith demystifies statements that can feel so mundane and purposeless, at least to me. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. was a verse that I remember growing up with younger and just being not really understanding why it even needed to be said. But then by his interpretation, thy neighbor means thou shalt not judge or assign meaning to person, place, thing, thoughts, or events. Mind's interpretation cannot hold any truth in it. Worrying about a loved one, for example, is bearing false witness. Mind can only bear false witness, can only lie about what is happening. It can only interpret, it cannot know. To say, for example, oh, he is so considerate, or she's so kind, or this one is inconsiderate, or this person is rude. Defining anything by mind's understanding is limited. This command relieves us of the duty to know. Any attempt to understand as a separate self is bearing false witness. Bearing false witness is selling ourselves short of infinite possibilities. Sometimes the lie can feel safer than the unknown. And yet there is a relief in this statement, a call to let go of the known, which is an inaccurate representation of what is. For by thy strength shall no man prevail. The Lord will take vengeance on all of our adversaries. Now, to me, reading this seems very extreme, but adversaries exist only in the mind. Personal strength is no match for mind. Truth stills the mind and reveals itself in its fullness, making all else irrelevant. And this also reminds me of NTI, Luke chapter 4. Through your willingness to be healed, healing will walk through the mob in your mind, passing it in gentleness, leaving it in peace and quiet on its own. So I hope you've enjoyed these excerpts and me sharing contemplations with you. My song that I wanted to share is called You Are the Universe, which speaks to our nature and is a reminder of our infinite potentiality, because we could be in the box. Thanks, Marisol. Thank you, everyone. As usual, so beautiful to be with you and to share with you and for you to share with me. Want to invite Marisol to bring a link into the room to for donations. We thrive on donations. We do this on donations, and we're growing and just coming into this oneness and this beauty together. And our donations is what allows us to do that. So thank you, everybody. And if anyone wants to share at this time, you can do that.
Go ahead, Dove.
Okay, thank you so much, Rev Beverly, and it was a beautiful reading. Reverend Yolanda. Marisol asked me earlier if I would like to share, and usually I don't really share after the homily, but there was a few things that were said. One in particular, both Rev Yolanda and Rev Beverly used the expression "only God is." Yeah. Ken Wapnick, who's my teacher, he said, you know, in the entire Course in Miracles, the only thing that's true is the two words "God is." Everything else is really a concept. I mean, you know, basically, even the Course says salvation could be said to be an escape from all concepts. So what I was hearing when I was listening to Rev Beverly is the idea of being raised up above the physical laws of this world. The physical laws have nothing to do with the laws of God. It has everything to do with the body and survival and winning and losing and getting and all the things that we're saying we're trying to let go of. So in miracle principle number 32, it actually uses that word celestial order, and it's been said, there's a speed up, celestial speed up, but nowhere in the course does it really mention the word celestial speed up that I know of, but it does mention celestial order. And I'll put it up here in the chat. I was going to read it. It says, I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and they make your perceptions holy. Wow. I mean, to make my perceptions holy. Now, we all know that perceptions aren't really facts, they're just interpretations, but interpreted through the holiness of spirit or Jesus, you're seeing things that the physical laws cannot see. And then it goes on to say, by placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. And then it says, in this order, you are perfect, which is pretty much exactly what all the teachings are saying, whether you're listening to Joel or the chorus or Jesus or anyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome.
Pia has her hand up. Go ahead, Pia.
Thank you. And God is quite, in Swedish is godis, and that's sweet. And the one, when I was listening to Dove once, I have been writing God is and goodies, and I made a painting. Can you
Yeah,
spotlight it, Marisol?
that's beautiful.
Mhm.
So David Hofmeister, he said that when he was in Sweden, that was a very Christian country because there was God is everywhere. You can't spotlight it, Marisol?
Yes, we see
Yeah,
it.
it's beautiful. Absolutely.
No, you see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I mean, it was incredible. I don't know, chills the whole time. The reading, Yolanda, it was just mind blowing. And your concept of it or your contemplation was really beautiful. And it's amazing how, like, when something's going on and then I come here and we hear what we need, right? And it's just now starting to formulate where it's like, it's because everyone needs to hear what everyone needs to hear. Like, because there is no everyone, right? It's just one thing, right, that needs to hear it. And that has taken a long time. And but I've been doing this practice that reminded me really helpful is to truly be in the now. Like this morning I was taking deadheading a little plant and and I'm praying to, like, okay, feel the leaf, smell the flower. You're right here. Like, I'm nowhere else. I'm zoomed in. Like, it's like, zooming in on your phone. Right. And be like, how my feet are on brick. I feel the coolness of the brick, the texture, stickiness of the flower, the leaf, the beauty, and then the smell. And when you were talking, that's what was happening with me. My eyes were closed and zooming in on right now, like as in the now as I could possibly be. And without really efforting. And that has just been mind blowing for me. I mean, how much I don't want to say, maybe I'll say clarity, but it's not really that. It's just a feeling when that presence is, when there is no mind going, it's just being in the present now it's been crazy. So, but I love that. I'm going to go buy his book, like another book. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I know let's see if anyone else wanted to say anything. And, if not, I know we're approaching the end of the hour, so do we have time for the song, or do we?
We can play it if you like.
Okay. This song is called Pata Pata. It's by Miriam Makeba. I heard this song a long time ago, obviously, but never knew the energy of it. It was in the 60s, and she was in the civil rights movement. She sang a lot of music that was, against apartheid and a lot of things that were happening. She was exiled from South Africa for like 31 years. And so this song is known as basically the world's most defiantly joyful song, because it was really, blackbirds singing in the dead of night, literally. So here we go. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Yolanda, for your beautiful, beautiful reading. And I just am in such joy to be with all of you every time I'm here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marisol.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.